Hello and welcome. My name is Mark Blatstein, the physician founder of Physician Pre-Sentence Report Service, White Collar Sentencing Mitigation Solutions, otherwise known as PPRSUS.com. You can see here phone 240-888-7778. So if you've been indicted, or you're facing your sentencing hearing, your indictment, um, you're going to plea, go to trial, you have a loved one in prison, it's really, don't ever think that this is the time to give up. You don't ever want to give up. There's always options. I mean, I have too many stories where there are individuals with life sentences, double life sentences, not a lot, but by the time they contact me, they're on their way home. So, no promises, no guarantees, but it does happen. And it can happen to you. Today, we're going to discuss that infamous individual, George Santos, former Republican to the House, who is eventually going to be sentenced this Friday, April 25, in New York. Today is April 22, so it is going to be an appropriate time, and I'm going to try and not bore you with all the details. I'm just going to hit the highlights. And his attorneys are going to go through and try and ask the court for 24 months. I have sentencing memorandums that I can't show you. It's going to be hard for me to show it to you here online. I'll see if I can do it, but it's definitely easier for me to show it to you on the website. And so he has been in the news so much, talking so much, that he is any attorney's nightmare. And the question I have here is, he helped or hindered his defense? And I'm pretty sure that we all know the answer. He's hindered it. He has a lifeline. It's called an allocution, which at sentencing, it's when you were able to talk to your judge. The challenge is this something that he is capable of doing? It requires, months, sometimes years of introspection and just, coming to grips with what you've done. I don't know this is part of his constitution. Going back to 2024, I wrote in September that he had faced nearly 24 criminal charges, and he finally reached a plea deal with the prosecutors. And he pled guilty just to wire fraud and aggravated identity theft. And here's when he was talking a lot. He was talking to the press everywhere. But in Rolling Stone, he said, "My sins are embellishing my resume. I'm sorry." And I'm saying to myself, this appears in conflict with accepting responsibility for what he's done. And then there was the superseding indictment. Well, I'm going to see if this opens up. It opened up what nicely. This is a superseding indictment. So what's a superseding indictment? I'm not going to go through it all with you here. It's long. But it's basically, this superseding indictment is in addition to the first charge. They get the first set of indictments they gave you. So not only did the Department of Justice hit him one time with a volley of indictments, they hit him again. After this time in court where he was at his indictment and he pled guilty, a U.S. attorney piece said, short time ago, after years of telling lies, former Congressman George Santos stood at the courthouse behind him and finally, under oath, told the truth, that he's a criminal. And he pled guilty to serious crimes involving fraud, identity theft. He also admitted to committing all other crimes that he was charged with in this superseding indictment. That's a big deal. So what his future could be, is he up to it? It starts with a compelling personal narrative, which is a powerful tool. It's his autobiography. It's a story. Wheaties cereal has a brand. It's called, the brand is on their box. Nike's has Just Do It. Tesla has that logo on the front of their car. The Olympics has their 4 or 5 rings. His personality can be a tool for helping the judge grasp the true essence of who he is, mainly since these crimes did not occur in isolation. But it requires him, basically not surrounding him with people who are enablers. It can be psychologists, psychiatrists, an attorney, family member who is there to support him, but he has to show a willingness to want to transform his life. Because by the time he gets to court, judges have great bullshit detectors. And if he lies, that's worse. That makes it much worse for him. He should have a complete medical and mental health evaluation that could reasonably explain his actions, as long as he follows that up with, medical care, but it's not an excuse. His best pathway is being on his best behavior once he goes to prison, but it's also having this personal narrative, having his allocution, and coming clean with his life, with those around him, and with the courts. 6 year sentence could equal 72 months. Good time credit is 52 days off a year, which could be a little under a year off a sentence. Earned time credit is about 1 year off for every 2 years he's incarcerated. The caveat being, can he be trusted to stay out of trouble? They have cell phones in prison. One of my YouTubes I did earlier today was about cell phones. They're going to find them. So if his phone number's on his cell phone, he's in more trouble. And then RDAP, or drug eligibility. I don't know if there's any drugs involved. I haven't read about any, but that would be an issue that would be taken up should he agree to a complete medical and mental health evaluation. This is a YouTube you can see on my website, but judges already know. Judges know his history, what he's released to the public through all of his press, all of his indictments, his superseding indictment, and quite frankly, through those documents, in the four corners of those documents, he probably appears a little worse than Jimmy Hoffa. The judge also knows that attorneys are paid to say nice things about him and keep him out of prison. They know the Department of Justice. They want a conviction. Prosecutor wants to protect him from society. They want him in jail. And they're going to try to convince the court to sentence him towards the higher end of the guidelines. Retribution seeks punishment, deterrence to deter other offenders from committing these crimes, incapacitation to protect society, rehabilitation. They want to change his criminal behavior so he becomes law abiding. But up until this point, he has not demonstrated any ability to change his behavior. Will he be able to share with the court this well written, heartfelt narrative? I don't know. As we approach April 25, the day of sentencing, the prosecutor is going to want a full 87 months. That's much higher than the 24 months. The sentencing memorandum is going to be what the prosecution is going to want from the court. And I have it at the end that I'll just briefly show it to you. But if you go into the website, you can read it in detail. But the prosecutor underscored that the New York Republican, he has unparalleled crimes that have fundamentally undermined the integrity of our electoral system. They have portrayed Santos as unrepentant and defiant, labeling the prosecution as a mere witch hunt. Where does that sound familiar? While he adamantly refused to resign from Congress, even as his web of lies was revealed. This is crazy. His expressions of remorse following a guilty plea were widely regarded as insincere, revealing a high likelihood of reoffending. And he has neither relinquished any of his ill-gotten gains nor made any restitution to any of his victims. In the face of his overwhelming evidence of his guilt and mounting calls for his resignation, he has clung to his defiance the whole time, casting himself as a victim of the government overreach. Again, where have we heard that before? He must face significant prison to address the extensive predatory nature of his crimes and restore integrity to our electoral process. He has forfeited nothing of his ill-gotten gains and has not repaid 1 cent to the victims of his financial crimes. The court can and should find that this fact demonstrates a strong risk of recidivism and lack of remorse. He claims to have graduated summa cum laude with a bachelor's degree in finance and economics from Bernard Ambosch College, but he lied. He also falsely stated that he had received a Master of Business Administration from New York's Stern School of Business, NYU. He never worked. He never did. He falsely stated that. He never got that degree, and he never worked at Citigroup or held any position at Goldman Sachs. It's crucial that Santos' sentence effectively serves as a deterrent to anyone else who wants to follow down that pathway. He exhibited a blatant disregard for the law and a profound lack of self-control. As detailed earlier, Santos has a well-documented history of lying, deceiving, and defrauding others. They go on and on. After considering these considerations, the government strongly requests 87 months. Now we go to the defendant's memorandum. And his attorneys, the judge already knows this, wants 24 months. It's very possible that he should, in my opinion, be prepared for a longer sentence. Now, again, the sentencing memorandums for both the defense and the prosecution I have at the end of this. Counsel wrote, That's his attorneys, and they're expected to say good things about him for the reasons including Mr. Santos's acceptance of responsibility, his personal history and characteristics, his significant cooperation with the government in the prosecution of Hernando Medina, the considerable collateral consequences he has faced, and the need to prevent unjust disparities in sentencing. Nowhere is there a reference to any heartfelt narrative written by George Santos where he acknowledges the harm he has done to his victims and our system as government. Nowhere does he accept responsibility for what he has done. Instead, we are to be concerned with the collateral consequences he, as an individual, has endured. Missing the point is just my opinion. Everything they wrote here, it just misses the point of what the sentencing memorandum should be and what had happened. Counsel stated now on page 3, his offenses are serious, but they were nonviolent, did not involve narcotics or physical harm. The significant financial harm was addressed through his agreed upon restitution payment. He didn't have a choice. That's insulting and missing the point. He didn't have a choice. He had to sign that or go to trial. We're all aware that his victims go beyond what has been stated and include society and all the individuals who depended on him, who voted for him, who trusted him, and yes, donated to his campaigns. Counsel went into Mr. Santos's personal medical history. The court may have best received all of this through a well-written narrative that he wrote, Mr. Santos wrote, not his attorneys or current treating physician records. In other words, having the records in the memorandum. I cannot say how the court will view all of this coming not from the defendant, but his counsel. If there were current detailed medical records, I did not see them mentioned or even alluded to in the memo. The memorandum also noted his significant mental health challenges, including a history of depression, suicidal thoughts, anxiety attacks due to high stress. They quoted in the pre-sentence report. He recalled being on voluntary psychiatric hold at a hospital around 2013, 2014. If this is all verified, this could simplify his Bureau of Prison placement, which is not really a great thing, which could range from being put basically in special housing unit or the SHU for his protection to an appropriate facility. But the problem is in today's climate where there's massive staffing shortages, there's at least a third or a little bit less of leadership shortage and a plethora of regular correction staff and other staff shortages that he may wind up just in the SHU right away. His only chance, as I mentioned at the very beginning, to participate is if he's able to participate in his own allocution at sentencing. So what is that? His allocution is when he speaks to the judge from the heart. But in order to have done that means that he's taken the time to draft from the heart his own personal narrative or autobiography before he gets to the pre-sentence interview. And we are long past the pre-sentence interview here. So here is the United States. This is the United States' sentencing memorandum. And this is very detailed, and it comes from the prosecution. But no, beneath this is the defendant's sentencing memorandum. And again, you go to the website, look it up. It's too much for me to go through right here. I hope you found this helpful. If you need any support, I'm definitely, if you wish to engage my services, physician pre-sentence report service. I'm Dr. Blatstein, my phone number, and I provide white collar sentencing mitigation solutions. I appreciate you taking the time to go through this YouTube with me, and I hope you stay safe and have a good day.